Well, I am Amy Spiker, and I'm a faculty member here at the University of Wyoming, and I am really excited to talk with Wendy today. Wendy's a teacher leader in writing, and I've had the opportunity to work with her on several projects, and it's been completely awesome. And so I wanted her to share a little bit about what she does with writing in her classroom. So I'm going to ask you, Wendy, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself first of all?
Sure. So this is my 21st year teaching. And right now I am in a 3rd and 4th grade looping classroom in Gillette, Wyoming.
Awesome. That's great. So how do you create a community of writers in your classroom?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I really focus on trying to get my students to realize that they are writers. So we start our school year by getting to know each other, but also by talking about exactly what writing is. And it's not just writing papers. It could be writing a list. It could be doing texts. 3rd and 4th graders write differently than what what I was used to in 5th and 6th grade. So building that trust as well is very important. Getting to know my students as human beings so that I can better help them. At the beginning of the year, we also do a lot of writing together. So I will model, and then we'll do some group writing, and then they go off to write as well. When we share, especially at the beginning of the year, we start to introduce ourselves. So I would say, I'm Wendy and I'm a writer. And then I share exactly what I want to share for that day. I do encourage them all after the first probably month to 6 weeks that everyone shares something, even if it's just a sentence or a couple of cool words they tried out. I don't force them to share for the full minute or two at the beginning of the year. As they get more comfortable and build that trust with me and their classmates, then they do share more. I also do a lot of one-on-one conferences. And so that helps to build that trust with me, which then builds the trust with their classroom and builds that writing community.
Awesome. So where do you find time for writing in a busy day and in your busy schedule?
I find writing to be a priority in my classroom. So when I set my schedule at the beginning of every year, I make sure to block out a 20 to 30 minute time for independent writing. I usually do my mini lesson in front of that, and then we go into writing. Sometimes the first 5 to 10 minutes are writing to the prompt that we're doing, or if we have to do a state test or a district assessment, we do that, but then we always get a few minutes of our own free write time. So I make sure to build that in as well as sharing every day. We also write in reading because it's literacy. We write in math. Sometimes we have to write to explain how we do something. We're doing a lot of writing in social studies and in science as well. That way they can see the connection that it's not just a writing class. We write in everything.
Awesome. So you've mentioned a little bit, but how do you model writing for students in your classroom?
So like I've said, I write a lot with them at the beginning of the year so that they can see it. I share what I write so they can see that I make mistakes as well. And yes, I make mistakes, not on purpose, but sometimes I will on purpose, just so they have that model of how to fix mistakes. I also, usually the night before or the morning before a lesson, I will write for whatever we're going to be writing that day so that they have a concrete example that's fresh in their mind. I usually have at least 1 or 2 of my own writings for every mode of writing that we do that they can use as a mentor as well.
Awesome. So if you were an administrator and you walked into a classroom, what would an engaged writing classroom look like? What would you look for?
I would look for kids talking to each other as well as to themselves, because some of our students need to talk to write. A lot of sharing, a lot of thinking time. So sometimes an engaged writing class does not look like pen to the paper all of the time. Sometimes they have to stop and think. Some of my students will be drawing pictures. We'll be meeting one-on-one. They'll be with revision partners or editing partners, depending on where we are with a particular piece or mode of writing for that day. It's not a quiet environment anymore. I usually have some classical music playing to just calm it down. but it's not like how I was taught. It's not a silent sit at your desk type thing. They're moving, they're getting what they need, they're getting, their iPads so they can look up words or look at the thesaurus on their iPads. It's not just a sit and do anymore, it's more action based.
Good to know. So do you have a favorite writing story that you can share with us?
Yes. Right after I did Wyoming Writing Project as a teacher leader, I went back into my classroom with a group of very reluctant writers. And one of them said they all said they hated to write, but one was very particular that he would not write anything. So it was about 3 or 4 months into the year, and he was writing, but not as quality as I knew he could do. He said he struggled to come up with ideas. So we talked about Diary of a Worm and Diary of a Spider, where you tell the story coming from not a human perspective. Well, this student happened to be a hunter, and his writing was phenomenal. He wrote his story from the point of view of an elk on opening day of hunting season. And he talked about how he, was eating in this beautiful place, and he described the mountains and used figurative language. And then pretty soon there was a really loud explosion, and he was looking down from the sky at what had happened. His mom didn't even know the potential this student had. So to see her tears when he showed her that writing, and to be able to share that with other people who have had the student, was really amazing. And he finally said, "Hey, I am a writer." So that was, boom, done. I've done my job as a teacher.
Awesome. Well, I sure appreciate you taking time to share with us today about writing instruction. And I'm sure we'll be hearing some more about your writing and your students' writing in the future.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks.